Thanks for staying with us. So today we're going to be discussing something of concern to many parents. Issue of punishment in school. How do you discipline children appropriately in schools? There are two stories we're going to be referencing. One is from Abuja. Allegedly, a young man, Yahaya Nuhu Aliyu, a JSS1 student of Federal Government College, Kwali, Abuja, was allegedly killed by a teacher in the school. According to the report, this young man wasn't feeling very well. He went to school and he was accused of not doing his assignment. And then the teacher took the handle of a bucket and hit him several times on his head. He fell flat. I mean, he collapsed, rushed to the hospital. By the time he got there, he was dead. Another story, according to reports, a JSS1 female student of secondary school in Ekiti has also filed a lawsuit against the Ekiti state government over suspension from school for an indecent hairstyle. Join the conversation, 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also send us messages on YouTube and on Facebook. We'd like to read your comments. So the issue of punishment. So growing up, many schools many young people went through this process where either bullying from your seniors, from your teachers, you get to fetch water even when you're sick. You know, this young lady, she's filing a suit, but according to her, she had a haircut and she put in this mark, I don't know what they call it, a pattern, and it comes with some kind of fancy, funky pattern, and she was beaten up and to the point where 20 strokes, 20 lashes. And this young man also, he did not do his assignment, and they hit him with a bucket. So where do we draw the line between discipline and children? What is acceptable in schools? What is discipline? How do we draw the line as educators? And I'd like to start with BC because I know that's your sector. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this?
So I think, first of all, teachers and school owners need to understand their role. You know, when the purpose of a thing is not defined, abuse is inevitable. Your role, first of all, is to impact knowledge in these children. And peradventure, you want to make any form of correction when it comes to their behavior. It's not your job to do it alone. You go hand in hand with the parents of the child to correct any behavior that's not working for that child. And so when you understand your role, and you see certain things.
Let me be clear, I understand. Okay. So there's academic rule.
Yes.
And there's the behavioral. So you say that when it comes to academic,
yes.
do 100%.
Do 100%. When it comes to behavior, because you are not the owner of the child, you must do it with the parents.
Gotcha. Okay.
With the responsibility must be shared. You must, for every correction and every punishment you want to make, must be agreed with the parents. Okay. You cannot just take things into your own hands and feel because I'm the teacher, I can beat you, I can kill you, I can bucket you, I can do everything. No, that's not your job. When we as educators and school owners, so for private schools, they are beginning to understand where their role ends. But we still see that most public schools have not really come to that understanding that I'm here to impact these children. And if I see anything that is not working for them, I will work hand in hand, because you also need follow-up from the parents at home. So the act of corporal punishment is something that educators have argued over and over, that this is not working. Parents right now are understanding that beating our children is not working. It's not giving us the result that we want. Why can't we have conversations? Why can't we make these children understand? Because they are human beings by themselves. I remember there was a time my son went to school and he had gum. He took the gum from his father's shelf and he was trained in class. And the teacher came, took the gum, put it on his head and pulled the hair. I nearly ran mad. How dare you? He said, because I just wanted to punish him to stop chewing gum. Did you call me to tell me your son is chewing gum and it's not allowed? That girl that they cut, that they flogged 20 strokes, why don't you send her home? This is not an acceptable haircut. Go home and come back with the right, or call the parents to come to school. Okay. Why don't we do things the right way? So we need to understand. My point here is, let us understand our roles as educators and as parents, and everybody should fill in their role.
Let me come to you, because we're all parents here, and let me use the example she used. So teachers have punished us. I mean, growing up, you have this kind of punishments where they will give you something really, really, out of the ordinary, because just as a sign of punishment. But does that work today?
I think it even worked then. I think that we need to separate. We need to understand that corporal punishment builds and breeds rebellion. So we tend to feel like when you are compelled to obey, that is obedience. No. What you have just done is imposed your power over me, and I would obey you in front of you. But you haven't corrected me. You have built rebellion in me. So many children conform to the laws in front of the people. I believe that for a society to develop, there must be punishment and there must be laws and punishment that will be acceptable by everyone. So the PTA, the parents should be aware that if a child has an inappropriate hairstyle, this is the way we punish. And everybody feels like, yes, 20 strokes of cane is a good enough way to punish. If all of them had agreed to it, and the children had a handbook that states that inappropriate haircuts deserve a punishment of 20 strokes of cane, then when the child, knowingly being aware of that, has a bad haircut, an inappropriate haircut, then the child will get the appropriate punishment as already agreed. In this case, was there a handbook stating what is qualified as an inappropriate haircut? No. Was there an agreed punishment by the university, the school body that the parent is aware of? No. So when a child comes, it is left to the mood of the teacher. The punitive measures cannot be based on your emotions, because every time you use emotions to penalize someone, you will either overdo or underdo. It doesn't work. Yeah. So if I'm feeling angry, I can overbeat a child. If I'm in a good mood, I can let the child go. There must be consistency when you're raising children. If not, you will not achieve a positive result. So in this case, I am extremely happy that we are finally getting some sense on how to use our legal sector to find and bring proper structure into society. So this is a good way to go. Yeah. And hopefully, they will not demonize one teacher because all teachers are doing it. In this case, don't demonize one teacher. Deal with the system that allows teachers to, as they feel, punish each child.
Let me come to you on this.
Okay, so it's okay to punish. I went to a school where the motto of the school was knowledge and discipline. Oh, I was thoroughly beaten. I was thoroughly beaten because I was not the calm Nima as a child. But there were out of proportion clear abuse of powers by teachers and some of the military personnel in my school. It was too obvious to make any sense. So for that reason, I would support the young lady in her court action. She did not conform to the school rules clearly because it was a public school, which is why she's suing the state government. And generally, among public schools, the standard is not to have that haircut that she came to school with. But 20 strokes of cane is totally out of proportion to the offense in question. So there was clearly an abuse of power by the school teacher, and I hope that her lawyers are doing the draft well, so that the teacher himself or herself is a party to the action. So the way we allow these things happen in some schools and call it a discipline is something that parents themselves should look into. I always say that I would love my child to go to the school I finished from for the basis of knowledge and, you know, to give a child a proper standard to life. But I will not allow the kind of discipline in the name of whatever guys I suffered. So we had a situation in school where a classmate had lost her property on the field. It was later found on the field. They rolled out, and per class we have about 70 to 80 people. In my set then. My own class, Diamond, was about 80 of us. They rolled out everybody. They did not search anybody's bag. They kept asking us who took the fabric. Was she supposed to bring fabric to school in the first place? No. But she did bring fabrics to school. She was saying they sent her to give someone. And the entire class. When they roll us out in the afternoon around 12, you can be in the hot sun till 2:33.
Well, I know earlier, this was mentioning the fact that the role of the teachers is to help and assist. Now, if we look at public schools, most public school students, that's the truth. Many of the people that attend public schools today are people, because many poor families go to low-income private schools. The public schools, either the house helps, either people who are extremely, extremely poor, that they don't even have any options to pay at all. So in those kind of cases, those parents are often not involved. So the teacher feels like I am your father, mother, everything. You are at my mercy.
I need to ensure you don't become a guru.
Yes, so in that kind of situation where the teacher feels like this, there's no help coming from anywhere, I am the one to discipline you, and they will discipline you based on their own discretion. So how do we help that kind of situation?
Yeah, so I think that's why the Ministry for Education needs to step in, especially when it comes to public schools. You need to start having conversations with parents. You need to find a way to get parents involved. And I know that because everybody is hustling and they are out there looking for ways to gather the small money to pay the fees. They may not have the time, but they need to find the time to understand the best ways to handle this sort of situation. Now, you know, how do we now determine a punishment that is commensurate to the offense? So if you say, let us gather as a PTA and we say, for instance, 20 strokes for this so and so, shouldn't we ask ourselves if this is infringing on the human rights of the child? Do we even understand that this child has a human right? And how do we follow it up from there? So government needs to step in. The commissioners of education need to step in. These teachers and principals of the school need to understand that our role here is different from what we are carrying on. Now, I was told as a classroom teacher that one of the reasons you are not allowed to touch a child is, first of all, to protect you and the school, because they have realized that teachers most times beat the children out of frustration. Even we as parents now, when you are frustrated and your child does something, instead of just tapping on the bomb, you carry glass cup and you throw. We have people who have anger management problems and they are classroom teachers. We have people who have other issues that are, you know, disturbing them and they are classroom teachers. So it's first of all to protect you. The child that has died now, that teacher is in trouble. The school is in trouble.
But that teacher didn't know. We need to regulate. We're talking this is the formative years of children.
So you use buckets.
Are you there?
No, you can't use
You're
buckets.
live. Go ahead, please.
That's the point.
Hello? Hello? Okay, we lost that call. So you're going to respond to what she said concerning... Yeah.
That is totally out of proportion. But we need our regulators to do the right thing within schools. So the principals of schools, of course, their jobs is to walk around school and ensure that the teachers are not killing children in their classes. So a child who comes to class and didn't do his homework, what the teacher should have done is find out why. The least you can do is say, okay, where's the report from the health center if it is within the school, and if it is not, if it's from home, you bring one. You don't beat
Where's
a child
your mommy?
with a
Where's
bucket.
your daddy?
No, you don't beat a child with a bucket over the head.
Yeah,
but if a child has an a consistent behavior of missing classes, or you have to do something about it.
It's not about even beating the child. It's not about beating the child.
Wait, where's the corrective power of the school? Call the parents at every time?
No.
Yes.
So I believe you call the parents.
These are exceptional cases.
No. I believe you call the parents. I believe you advise to withdraw. I believe you suspend the child.
Yes.
I believe that there are many non-corporal or
punishment
non-beating
measures.
Because you see, this beating thing is something that because we grew up seeing it happen all around us, and we feel like we thought that okay, we turn it into a normal thing, but it isn't normal.
Which okay.
And children are not. We respond differently to things. It's like when they say, "Don't let your anger push you into fighting," because you don't know what the other person is carrying. This boy was not feeling fine. So you might just have just pushed the boy a little bit and you tip him over the edge and this boy died. Yeah. So you are now in a case where you are carrying the battle that you had. He was a whole lot more. He did a whole lot more.
Let me take this call. Koinsola, you're live. Are you there? Good morning, Koinsola.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Prince Shola, I do apologize. Go ahead, please.
Yes, morning. Morning and the team.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm very happy. Yes, I'm very happy to get rid of you ladies this morning. You see, the topic you are discussing, you see, we have to be very careful in that country, in our country, Nigeria, in the sense that we have our culture and we have things we do in Nigeria. I went to Mayflower School where I was paid by Taishulani then in the 70s with cutlass. I did not die. That is one of the things that made me whom I am today. You see, there was a discussion in the 90s that I've been here now for a bit. But I came into this country, United Kingdom, in 1988. In the 90s, there was a discussion then. I was studying. I used to work there because, you know, in England you have to work. I was working in hospital then, in St. George's, I'll quote it. I was in a elderly care, ward. We call it geriatric. In that ward, we were discussing, and the old people were saying to us that in 70s, a lot of people come to their media, just like what you ladies are doing now, and they were criticizing a lot of things that, like, I'm not saying what you are doing is wrong. Please get me right. And they said in the 70s in the UK, they came to the telly, they were saying all sorts of things about this is how you deal with child, this is what you do. And that is What comes out the UK? Look at the children now that they were breeding in the UK now. They are monsters because nobody is telling them the wrong and the right.
Okay. Point taken, Prince Chola. So there are different versions of that, and I know you guys are itching to respond. But there are different versions of this, because the truth is that, you know, some people, that's one analysis. And that analysis could say that with all our beating, how many airlines have we invented? With all the beating, and there are ways you mold a child that stops a child's creativity and ability to actually go above and beyond what they ordinarily do. So people can see from different perspectives, but how do you interpret what he's saying, that this is how many of us were raised, and that's what produced who we are today? But who we are today, is it the right person?
Okay, so we're raising conformists. We're raising conformists. We're not raising creatives. You know, we're not raising problem solvers. A lot of problem solvers had to now learn and unlearn a lot of things that had boxed them into the way they should grow. I believe that there's a difference between right and wrong, and we must raise our children to understand there is right and there is wrong. There's appropriate, there's inappropriate. There's a way trousers to sit on your body, and the way trousers to sit on your body. There are things that are good and there are things that are bad. And there must be punitive measures, because wherever a society that has no laws, everything would go into disarray. There'll be chaos. Where there are no laws being followed, there'll be chaos. So if you want to raise your children right, there must be structures to raise that child, and punitive measures for when they disobey or fall out of the structures. Okay. If not, you will raise chaotic children. So it's not that we should become like the Western world, because yes, we've seen how the lack of any form of punitive measure has made them discipline, created lack of morals. So we can't still have it. We can create our own system. We've seen other countries work. We don't need to always adopt every other person's style. Yeah. We are human beings, and we should create our own.
Because I'm working with the education ministry, and I have information on the fact that the program in Lagos State is doing, EcoExcel, does totally bars caning any of the children, because they have measures. They have measures that are built into the system on how to help a child. So there are ways you stand up, you face the wall, you use your break time, you know, or
the naughty corner, you're isolated.
There are different ways to make a child feel like this. I have committed a crime.
And I need to face the punishment.
There was a time we went into this inspection where myself and the commissioner were walking around, and we saw a cane. The commissioner was asking, so who is this cane for? Because I just used to make them fearful. We don't want you to have this in here. So it's going to take a long time to purge ourselves of this system, because we all grew up in this system.
So, Mariah, what I learned in my years of being a Montessori directress, they exposed us to a lot of child psychology. And one of the ways that you are judged is your ability to manage the classroom without raising your voice and lifting a cane. Your ability to manage, to get the children to listen to you, to get the children to calm down without shouting and raising a cane. That tells you that you are a good teacher. You know how to get these children to be active. You know how to get these children to be involved in the activities. And I also want to say that we always look at ourselves and say we turned out okay. Really? We don't know how to have communications. We don't know how to have deep communications. Anything happens, everybody's temper is flying everywhere. On the street, somebody hits your car, you see slaps flying, you see spits flying, you see everybody behaves like there's something pursuing us. We are so angry, we are very impatient because of our upbringing.
Aggression has been
because of aggression that has been inbuilt in our system. Programmed. Some of us now are learning to understand ourselves, understand our emotions, and become is a process for a lot of people. Those people who are not even self-aware, you see how they act when issues come up, because we did not learn the simple acts of having conversations, the simple act of showing our emotions without hitting and throwing things. And the informative part of a child's life is from 0 to 6 or 7 years. If you can teach a child that you can actually express anger without being calm and expressing yourself, telling them exactly how you feel, tomorrow that child will grow as an adult who can look at the wife and have a conversation, not throw slaps. Exactly. So that is what we're trying to avoid. I'm not saying there is no punishment that should be meted. We should met out punishments. Well, we, even ourselves, we know how to talk to our children these days. We're learning how to talk to them these days and get them to serve their punishment. No TV, no this, no that.
Let me take
and
this
we get what we want.
Tola, are you there from Oshodi?
Yeah.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. I think this topic we are discussing, we need to balance it. Yeah. In the sense that while I'm in my 40s, and I married early. So I know what happened with my son. I can say, molested. It could be on the better side because of our culture. But right now, something happened a few weeks ago. My son just called me from the school. He's a kind of a social guy, fine guy, was a social prefect. He was in the private school. So he called me and said, "Oh, Dad, I need you to come to my school tomorrow." I said, "Why?" He said, "Just come." I know normally he will call his mom to come. You know, he said, "Don't allow my mom to come. You just come." And I got to the school. The principal and the guardian counselor told me, "Please, you know your child has a lot of influence in this school, and he's having a haircut that we don't know."
Sorry, we lost that.
He said, yeah, the principal and the guardian counselor told me that your son is with an haircut that we do not want in this school, and a lot of children are having that haircut. And because of his influence in the school, as a social prefect, we want him to cut the hair, but he doesn't want to cut the hair.
So what did you do, sir?
So what
we
happened?
lost him.
Mr. Tola, are you still there?
Yeah, I told the boy that he needs to cut the hair, but he said, he was telling me, "Oh, this is how, look at Obama's hair, look at my Zuckerberg, look at," I said, "This is Nigeria, you need to cut your hair." And he did, but he was crying. But I could see the communication between the school, myself, and the child. So he came to, he was mad, he was angry, but later he got to understand it's a normal thing. Another thing happened like 3 days ago. A friend called me from the UK. She went to the UK with the family. He said, so a family invited them to come over to spend the weekend. A white family, a pure white family.
We lost you again. You said pure white family. I think we have to...
So he's just buttressing the conversation aspect.
What are your thoughts on what he said? And the fact that the child is an influencer in school because you're a social prefect.
You need to make some sacrifices.
The spiral effect of certain disobedience in school. Remember when the QC trended? If you had allowed it to pass, and you know that one they were even trying to be civil, that was a parent pushing back and dragging the security man over her child. So some parents themselves need discipline.
Yes, so
lack it.
Because they're a product of...
But you cannot continue to have standards broken in school as a school system and do not. I believe that caning is a shortcut to disciplining the child.
Yes, I like that.
But there are situations where you need to stand your ground. And if it involves
suspension,
certain limited form of caning or punishment, make the child stand out in the, at the assembly, you know, call out what that child has done as wrong. Some of those things, there was a case of beating of boys against girls while we were in school. And they called out the boys, and they called their parents to come to school and shamed them. So, you know, those are some of the methods, so that that guy will know to be caught beating a woman in future is wrong.
Yeah. We need to wrap up on this, but let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we might have to move on to other topics. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before we move on to the other topic, we're going to wrap up on the last. We have quite a number of comments. And yes, go ahead, please.
Dorothy Onyegbula says, I remember a situation in secondary school. I brought a pen to school, and the pen was stolen. It was the day I was supposed to write integrated science test. I wrote the test with a pencil, and I actually scored 2020 in the test. My teacher flogged me and had marks on my hand and still gave me 0. My mom went to this, because I didn't have a pencil, my mom went to the school that she doesn't have any problem with me being beaten or disciplined, but not to put marks on the child. Moreover, the offense for which she's being punished wasn't necessary.
The girl passed, she did well, 2020, and you still gave her a 0. Let me take this call, then I'll come back to you. Moyilolu, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I remember a situation when I was in SS2 back then in school, and I missed my step. My leg was swollen, like I was in pain. I could not walk with that leg. Practically, my friends carry me to class, and they take me back to the hostel. We're all girls in the school, and we went for physics practical that day. The teacher delayed us, and we had our English teacher waiting for us in class. The practical rooms are far from the classrooms. Coming back to the class, the teacher was like, everybody should run. I could not run. So I was trying, my friends were helping me, but she asked them to leave me alone. So they had to leave me. I struggled to come into class. those of us, she gave a time lapse. So those of us that could not catch up, she asked us to kneel down. I could not kneel down with this leg. And this woman was like, she wasn't even going to pity me. She said I should sit on the floor, stretch my hands first. And we see teachers do these things a lot of times to students. Lack of empathy. Even despite they can see that this child physically cannot, is not even wrong for what offense they are trying to punish them for. And as brothers, we see seniors doing the same thing.
Yes.
Because they have seen their teachers doing these things over and over again. I remember my study when we were in SS1. This girl had a very serious health challenge. She missed the whole term because of what? Punishment. And these things happen over and over again. And we know that as brothers, most of us spend more time in school than we do with our parents. You see students come back home, they bully their siblings at home, lack of empathy, they fight and all of that. Where do they learn them from? These teachers are not leading by example.
Thank you, Moi.
Thank you so much.
Moi's example, I think we're going to have to have this conversation again. We bring in regulators, we bring in different stakeholders and see what we can do to help people, young teachers especially, to know how better to discipline young people. Let me take this call. Williams from Abuja, are you there?
Yes, I think good morning.
Oh, Williams, go ahead. You're live, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, so against, let me just go straight to it. Against popular opinion, I am against flogging a child. I'm speaking from personal experience. As a child, I was completely emotionally unstable because of cane. I hated to see cane, but I could not even learn until I met a teacher in my nursery 3. And he didn't have to, I just needed words of affirmation from this teacher, and I was good. When I mean good, I moved from the last of the class to like the second best in the class.
Imagine.
So I'm totally against cane. Like, the children can learn. The children can learn. There are better ways to make them learn.
Right.
So,
thank you, Williams.
I'm against it. Thank you.
I have Ona from calling from Niger State. Good morning, Ona. Are you there?
Yes, I am here. Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So as regards the flogging, some of the punishments we give to children are extreme. You know, I don't know why. When I got into JSS1 in 1997 at 9 years old. So a child in JSS1 that you are giving 20 strokes of the cane, for crying out loud, how can you give a child that is probably 9 or 10 or 11 20 strokes of the cane? Is that not extreme? That is extreme. You know? So, and then the child too has a fault. In those days when we're growing up, you don't see girls with parts on their head. You know? So I really don't get I don't know why a girl would. We know what the system is. We know what is acceptable in the school. So a child who comes to school with a part knows that part on your head. Probably she was not the first person that has come with that kind of hairstyle, and it was corrected. So maybe they were using her as an example, and then for the other child who was killed, the handle of his pocket, for crying out loud.
As in.
So, I mean, I think we are all on this table somehow, because even I know I've mentioned this on this show before, where I tried to spank my daughter. I was using a small belt to spank her. I told her to stretch out her hand. As I was stretching her hand, as I was putting the whip over her, it went straight to her face.
Imagine if it was the eye.
I started crying. I said, hey, Father Lord Almighty, because I want to discipline a child. The mark was there for weeks, I think, about a couple of months. I teachers in school kept asking, what happened to your face? And my mom is right.
Abroad, they would have arrested you.
They would have arrested me abroad. Because the mark was right there. I mean, thank God it has cleared now. But I felt sorry. How can I'm a mother, because I can't remember what she did. So the point is that we are all learning that, yes, spanking was part and parcel of our growing up.
Did he serve us? Did he work?
Now, some people, I've said it here, kinesthetic students do need spanking. There are children that are auditory, that are, they are different types of children. But somebody who feeling is your own thing. Spanking is appropriate, but maybe not too extreme. And now, how do you define what's extreme? Is where really.
So, I mean, for that kinesthetic, I don't believe, because I am kinesthetic as well, and spanking did not do anything positive for me. Hey, don't go there. Don't go there. I was so used to it that I would do something and then go and kneel down and raise up my hand. Daddy come and beat me. It was that bad. And so I grew up. I'm starting to learn now not to hit my children. When I started having kids, before you say 2 times I've hit, I will just give it to you. I think the teaching also helped me to build that. But let us understand that children have emotions. And the job of a teacher is to get them to a stable emotion so that learning can take place. When you destabilize the emotions of these children, they are not able to learn. And so in class, you're saying this one is Olodo, this one is that. That child is not functioning well because of how harsh you are, how you may have been beaten. She has seen you. There are some children you beat others and they are shaking. You have not touched them. They've not done anything to you. It affects them. We need to go back and understand how the psychology of a child works and show empathy. So assume everybody in your class is your child. Would you give your child 20 strokes of the cane that blood will be oozing out of their body? Let us ask ourselves that.
On this. Thank you very much, ladies. We'll continue to follow up on the story of the young lady that sued the state government of Ekiti State for her getting 20 strokes of cane for her haircut. And our hearts go out to the family of Yahya, who lost his life because his teacher beat him with the hand of a bucket. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, move on to the killings that happen in Jos. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.